history that we were all taught growing up is wrong. My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history that nobody knows about. There are pyramids, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over the world. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told. I'm on my way to Hawaii to investigate just how far one of the world's most intrepid groups of voyagers traveled. I'm not talking about the Vikings or anyone from Europe. I'm talking about the Polynesians. We know they settled Hawaii, but they may have gone even farther east than that, maybe even to what's now the United States mainland. My investigation starts with an email from a student in Maui.
Aloha, Scott. I'm a college student in Hawaii, and my archaeology professor just told me about a spear point some hikers found in Haleakala National Park, a volcanic crater here. Scientists have long been looking for evidence that the Polynesians not only settled islands like Hawaii, but actually made it to the Americas around 1000 AD. I think this spear point could be that evidence, and that's why I'm hoping you can come take a look. Sean Beckman.
The Polynesians were some of the world's most accomplished sea voyagers. Most people know very little about them and their amazing accomplishments. Hawaii is just one of many islands the Polynesians settled in the Polynesian Triangle, an area of the Pacific the size of Russia. Because Hawaii was formed by volcanic eruptions 400,000 years ago, you'd expect to find a lot of obsidian volcanic glass here. Actually, there isn't much, and what is here is black. The spear point in the email Sean sent is greenish gold, and I don't think there's any obsidian in Hawaii that looks like that. I'm headed to one of the only places on the islands where obsidian can be found, to talk to an archaeologist. I want to find out if this artifact could have come from here, or if someone, maybe the Polynesians, brought it here from somewhere else.
Scott Wolter?
Yes.
Hi, it's Janet Six.
Nice to meet you. Hey, I'm anxious to see this spear point.
I don't have it with me. It's on Maui with the people that found it, but I do have some photographs here and I'd like to share with you.
Wow. Well, Janet, this definitely looks like obsidian, and I did find a few pieces of obsidian here. And obsidian is a silica-rich volcanic rock that comes out of a volcano, cools very quickly into a glass. Is there a lot of obsidian here in Hawaii?
There's maybe a couple of quarries. This is the main quarry that I'm aware of. I was really interested in the color. And when I talked to a rock expert, he said, green gold obsidian, that sounds like Pachuca, which is located in modern-day Mexico, which at one time was the ancient homeland of the Olmec and the Maya.
In the New World.
Yes. We think that this might have come from there, and I'm doing some analysis, and we're going to see if it's a match to Pachucan quarry. We know through oral history that the Polynesians and Hawaiians went to what they call the land of mist and frogs.
The land of mist and frogs is part of Hawaiian legend. It's believed to be what is known as Mesoamerica, Mexico and Central America, before Spanish explorers arrived.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Polynesians went there and saw a piece of shiny green gold obsidian that they wouldn't bring it back with them.
So what you're saying is the Polynesians would have to be involved, and that would mean that they had to go there, get this item, make it or trade for it, and then bring it here. Is that right?
Well, we know the Mayans weren't sailing around the Pacific, and we know the Polynesians were. And they're bringing with them their thoughts, their ideas, things that are sacred, things that are special, and rocks would have been one of those things.
Maybe a point like this?
Could be.
Now, can you tell me a little bit about how this was found and when was it found?
Well, it was found in 2009 by some friends of mine that were hiking in Haleakala Crater. And I have some footage that they actually shot of them finding it. They shot this video moments after recovering this artifact while climbing. See it there?
That thing is big.
And there's Trevor. He's the gentleman that actually found it. They called the park, and the park kind of poo-pooed the idea that you would find a giant spear point inside the park because, as we know, Polynesians don't have that.
Right.
So they put it in a box, and they didn't do anything with it. You can see that steep vertical face.
It's very steep, yeah. And it's rugged terrain, right?
And that adds to the mystery. Who put it there? I mean, it's not a place you'd leave an artifact, a simple, easy access place. And so this begs the question, could Polynesians have put it there?
I'd really like to meet these guys. Is there any chance I could meet them and take a look at the artifact?
Yeah, I'm sure I can arrange a meeting for you.
Janet, I'm very excited to meet your friends and see this spear point. But before I do that, I want to learn more about the Polynesians. This spear point could prove that the Polynesians made it to Mexico. And if they made it that far, maybe they even made it as far as the United States. People may not realize that the Hawaiian island chain stretches 1,500 miles and actually includes more than 130 separate islands. We know the Polynesians settled this chain and every island in the Polynesian Triangle before Columbus ever set sail. They covered that distance in just 400 years, between 1000 and 1400 AD. But did they go further? When a couple of hikers in Maui came upon a spear point made of green gold obsidian, a type of rock not found here, they may have stumbled upon evidence the Polynesians sailed to Mexico and back. And if these intrepid voyagers could make that journey, they could easily have made it to what's now the United States. Before I look at this mysterious spear point, I'm meeting a professor who knows all about the Polynesians to see what he thinks about the likelihood that they made the trip. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Scott. Welcome.
Hey, nice to see you. Thanks for meeting with me.
Sure. I hope you're hungry. I got us lunch.
Chicken looks great.
Good.
I'd really like to know more about the Polynesians.
Well, Polynesia is a vast area, millions of square miles. Most of it, of course, open ocean with tiny islands. And Polynesians, over the space of about a century, at about 1200 AD, went from Tahiti and discovered just about every single island, all the way to places like Hawaii, down to New Zealand, out to Easter Island.
Do you think the Polynesians made it to the New World? And if so, what evidence do you have?
Yes, they did make it to the New World, and the evidence is right there, sweet potato. It's not native to Hawaii. It's the best evidence we have that there was contact between South America and Polynesia.
You're claiming that the Polynesians went to South America and brought the potato back. But a skeptic could argue that maybe the potato floated over, or somebody else brought it to the islands.
The real clincher in the evidence is the name. The Polynesian word for the sweet potato is kumara, and the South American word for the sweet potato is kumar, found in the languages in Ecuador and Peru. So it's a very similar word for the same thing. Evidence that there was face-to-face human transfer of this important crop.
Is there anything else, any other evidence that you can build upon with the sweet potato?
The chicken. Some believe that the South American chickens are actually from Polynesia. Archaeologists have found chicken bones, and they've dated the chicken bones, and it does fit just barely within pre-Columbian times. So it may have been chickens from Polynesia reach South America, sweet potatoes from South America come back to Polynesia.
Is that the reason we're having our chicken and our potatoes here for lunch?
I thought you should have some Polynesian food, and this is genuinely Polynesian. It has been for a long time.
Well, Terry, you seem pretty confident that the Polynesians definitely made it to South America and back. Do you think that they could have made it to North America prior to Columbus?
North America wouldn't be that hard to reach. Some of my colleagues think that there's a connection between the Chumash of California and the Polynesians.
The Chumash are a group of Native American tribes in Southern California who lived and continue to live along the coast. Diseases introduced by Europeans caused the Chumash population to drop from 22,000 to 300 in a century's time. There are now 7,000 Chumash living in the United States.
In the Chumash language, you have words similar to those in Polynesia. Some believe that there's a linguistic tie. In the same argument is the idea that there are canoes in California that look like Polynesian canoes.
Terry, one thing's for sure. If there is evidence that the Polynesians made it to what is now the United States before Columbus, that would change history.
If you're interested in the California-Polynesia connection, I would say go to Santa Barbara and learn about the Chumash evidence. See what you think.
I will do that, but not until I finish my Polynesian chicken
Absolutely.
and potatoes.
Yeah.
So far, I've learned about an obsidian spear point ancient Polynesians could have picked up in Mexico and left here in Hawaii. I also found out what great navigators the Polynesians were, colonizing islands all over the Pacific in just a few hundred years. Not only that, it looks like these voyagers may have transported food and language during their travels. I wonder if the Polynesians made it to what's now the United States mainland. Distance-wise, it's actually a shorter distance to travel from Hawaii to California than from Hawaii to Mexico. There are some promising leads to follow up on in California, but first I'm going to meet Trevor Carter and Brian Axtell, the guys who found the mysterious spear point in Mount Haleakala, an inactive volcano on Maui. Haleakala is one of the biggest dormant volcanoes in the world. There's a 2,700-foot drop from rim to crater, and the distance around Haleakala measures 20 miles. The volcano last erupted in 1790. It's a sacred place for all Hawaiians, and its name means House of the Sun. Hey, I'm looking for Brian and Trevor.
They're on the other side of the ravine. You got two choices. You can either take the long way or the short way.
Short way. Trevor?
Scott.
How you doing, man? Brian?
Aloha.
All right. Hey, I'm anxious to see this spear point. I can't wait, but I want to hear the story. How'd you find it?
It was in 2009 in May. A group of about 12 of us all went up together to do the 15 miles through the crater.
Wow.
We were all taking a break. Trevor went off and continued on up the trail.
Just happened to literally step over this pile of rocks, and this rock just really stood out. And I reached down for it, not thinking anything of it, and realizing, hey, this is a piece of obsidian. And as I got some of the mud off of it, I realized this is something that's man-made. As I'm holding this spearhead, I just was enthralled by it. The energy that it put off, it wasn't normal. We realized, like, holy cow, this is something awesome.
It was green, not black obsidian.
Well, I've seen some obsidian here just recently, and it's black.
Yeah.
Sounds like this is different, and if it's different, that means it's not from Hawaii. So you knew that this crater was a sacred place, right, to the local people? So you knew it had some importance to it. What happened when you went to the park people? You showed it to them, right?
Not immediately, because the park was closed and there was no one at the station. We brought it home, and I called the next morning, and I'm like, hey, we found a spearhead in the crater. What do I do? And the official response was, well, that doesn't sound Hawaiian. You're welcome to bring it up. Somebody will take a look at it and get back to you maybe.
So Trevor, when you found this thing, did you realize how significant it was?
Yeah, I actually got it tattooed on my side. I have it permanently on me right now.
You did?
I did.
I gotta see it.
All right.
Ha! Look at that. What does it say here?
It means gift of the warrior spirit.
So you assume that this thing was made here in Hawaii with Hawaiian obsidian, right?
That's what I thought. I didn't know anything else because I didn't really know the history of this area.
Well, Trevor, I love the tattoo,
Thanks.
but I'd like to see the real thing. Let's take a look.
Scott, I have really bad news.
What?
They took it this last Tuesday before you got here.
What do you mean they took it? Who's they?
The national park.
We don't have it.
So are you telling me that the Park Service just took from you this potentially history-changing artifact? They just took it? So are you telling me that the Park Service just took from you this potentially history-changing artifact? They just took it? Physically took it from you?
We don't have it.
The national park set up a meeting with me to actually see it for the first time in 4 years, and they took it, knowing that I was meeting with you.
You're serious, aren't you?
Absolutely. We originally called them the day after the discovery.
Right.
They made it seem like it wasn't of any significance.
They didn't care.
They made no reference to caring, whomever I spoke to.
Well, why do they care now?
I personally believe they care now because they knew you were coming.
But why did they take the artifact? I don't understand that. Explain that to me.
I don't understand it either. We were together for an hour. I was sharing photos, everything I had that we have found over the years.
So it's civil at this point?
Completely.
Okay, when did it turn? When did they make the play for the artifact? Did they say, we want you to hand it over?
No. They asked me if I had it with me after about 45 minutes, and I took a breath in, and I said, yes, I do. I do have it.
And she demanded the artifact? Is that what happened?
She showed me her badge. It was a federal law enforcement badge. I handed her the artifact. I stepped back. She was threatening to arrest me.
What the hell is this? Seriously,
We got hoodwinked.
What I don't understand is I've never heard of anything like this before. I mean, I've seen things covered up, swept under the rug. I've seen every excuse in the world that people can think of to cover up an artifact, to try to show this isn't real, it's fake. But I have never heard of a sting operation like this. This is crazy.
They had no interest, just blowing off a couple guys, and then realized maybe this is significant, maybe this has some worth and value to history, and they want in on it. All we really wanted is for this artifact to get studied and get the attention that it deserves.
Well, I think it's going to get the attention it deserves. I just wish it would have happened in a different way. Janet Six showed me a couple of photos. You guys have to have some photos.
They're back at the car. We're gonna have to take the long way back, but I got a bunch.
The fact that the National Park Service confiscated the obsidian spear point 4 years after Trevor found it tells me it's even more important than I thought. It's illegal to take artifacts found on national parks property, but it sounds to me like these guys tried to do the right thing. Keeping artifacts in their archaeological context is important, so scientists can study them properly. The spear point could be evidence the Polynesians traveled to the New World before Columbus and brought back a sacred souvenir. The key thing here is Janet testing to find out if they can actually fingerprint this to quarries over in Mexico. And if she can do that, boy, that to me is really the final test. Let's see what you have.
You got it. Well, the first photo is a picture of the artifact on a piece of paper. It has the date, the location, and the primary witnesses who are on the hike.
So they grabbed this as well as the artifact.
Absolutely. This is some close-ups
where
you can see the uniqueness of it compared to Hawaiian obsidian.
Well, it's got that sort of golden glow along the edges here.
That's exactly what we noticed right off the bat.
It's sparked interest all over the place. We were so fortunate to have folks from our local NASA astrophysics lab bring us into the office and take some pictures, which...
Do you have some of those?
Let me pull them up right now.
Okay. Well, clearly man-made, probably a ceremonial piece.
you can see that they were skilled in what they were doing.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't a machine, this was man-made, but they knew what they were doing.
My favorite quote from all of the people who have looked at this was from a flint mapping specialist over on the Big Island.
Okay.
He said, if this is tourist junk, this is museum grade tourist junk.
Junk. I can tell you one thing, guys, this is not junk. Hang on just one sec here. I'm getting a text from somebody. Hi, Scott. Got the detailed data back on the spear point. The green gold obsidian is, in capital letters, from Pachuca, like we thought. Could be evidence the Polynesians got to Mexico and back. Janet. Well, you needed some good news, that's for sure.
That's an understatement.
There's no way this spear point came from Haleakala Crater. They don't have obsidian like that. Guys, I have to go up and talk to them.
I don't know if it's gonna do you any good.
You can't go up there.
So they won't let me up there?
They said none of us were allowed up there until this investigation is finished.
Well, then we'll have to find another way to get to the truth. I came to Hawaii to find out if an out-of-place spear point could be the key to unlocking the mystery of whether Polynesian navigators made it to the New World long before Columbus. Here's what I have so far. The discovered spear point is made of obsidian that can't be found in Hawaii. It's believed it came from a quarry in Mexico. Janet, the archaeologist, had it tested, and incredibly, it was a match. The theory is Polynesian voyagers went to Mexico and brought the spear point back here to Hawaii. Unfortunately, I'm only able to see pictures of it since the artifact itself was confiscated. But the spear point isn't the only piece of evidence to suggest that around 1000 AD, the same time Vikings were discovering America in the north, the Polynesians may have been setting foot on the other side of the continent. I'm meeting an archaeologist named Terry Jones in Santa Barbara, who claims to have the next clue in this investigation. Hi, Terry. Scott Wolter.
Scott, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I see you've got a canoe behind you. Tell me a little bit about this.
Our local Chumash, our Native Americans here in Southern California, brought a modern replica of a tamal,
Okay.
which is a sewn plank canoe. What's unique about it, what's important about it, is the engineering, the way it's constructed. You have a plank here, you have a seam, and then another redwood plank, and then they're sewn together at a number of locations, and the craft is built up with this combination of sewn planks and then a tar sealer to keep it watertight.
That's amazing. It's really sophisticated. So how does this canoe construction technique connect with the Polynesians?
This was the standard technique for making boats among Polynesians. And I have an example right here.
Okay. So this is the Polynesian style.
And here you can see the same technique.
You've got virtually the same shipbuilding techniques that either developed independently here in North America and in Polynesia, or there had to have been some type of contact, correct?
That's exactly the way we see it. Now, it's certainly possible that in both places they invented the same technology. However, not only do we have the same technology, but we have linguistic similarities. The first one is the word that refers to this craft. The ancient word for sewn plank boats would have been tumalo'o. That word is very, very similar linguistically to a word that we would have seen in Polynesia, tumarakau.
On paper, these two words may not appear to share more than a couple of letters. But linguistics isn't about how words are spelled, but how they sound. When pronounced by native Chumash and native Polynesians, these two words would have sounded the same. Is there any other linguistic evidence?
There were two groups in Southern California that used these boats, the Chumash and the Gabrielino. The Gabrielino word for their boats is not tamal, it's tiat. Polynesian word tia is to sow. Sewn plank canoe, to sow. It seems like it can't be just a coincidence.
I would think not. But would this canoe have been used to travel across the ocean?
Well, these particular canoes were used primarily to get out to the islands off the coast of Southern California. The Polynesians used this technique to make much larger boats that also had sails that allowed them to cover thousands of miles of open water.
Okay. Is there any other material evidence, such as stone, tools of any kind, that might provide a connection?
We do have some archaeological evidence. This is a pretty standard shellfish hook that we see from Southern California. These things came into existence about 3,000 years ago.
Okay.
But after about 1300 AD, we see this much more elaborate style. It has a barb, it has a groove for attaching the line. We see the exact same style throughout much of Polynesia. We don't think necessarily that Polynesians came here and stayed. There was an exchange of ideas about how to work wood, about engineering, about how to build boats, and then they probably left.
But they had an impact on each other.
They had an impact, they had an effect.
And this would
Absolutely.
be one of the things that the people here learned. Is there any chance that we might be able to try this canoe out?
I think we're in luck.
Based on what Terry told me, I think these paddlers' ancestors may have had a visit from ancient Polynesian voyagers who set foot on American soil long ago. The canoe construction, the linguistics, the fishhook design, these are all significant connections. But what I want to know now is, what do the Chumash people themselves have to say about this alleged ancient connection? Terry has arranged an introduction with a Chumash elder to help me understand this 600-year-old relationship.
Scott, I am so happy to be able to introduce you to my friend Georgiana. She's a Chumash elder here.
Hi, Georgiana.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
So happy to meet you, Scott.
I've been investigating the idea that Eastern Polynesians may have come here to what is now Southern California. What I'd like to talk to you about is oral tradition. Is there any mention of contact with Polynesians coming here?
There is. My own genealogy goes back to the island of Limu. People know that island is Santa Cruz Island.
Off the coast here.
Off the coast of California,
Okay.
right here. Limu means seaweed. All around Limu are these big kelp forests and seaweed beds. And Limu is a Polynesian word.
So this is a word that your people picked up from somewhere.
Long, long time ago.
Is there anything else you might suggest I look at that might be able to help me with this ancient Polynesian connection?
Well, have you heard of the Kennewick man?
I have heard of the Kennewick man. You're talking about one of the oldest skeletons ever found in North America, dating back about 9,000 years ago.
Well, I've heard recently that the Kennewick man could possibly have been Polynesian.
Polynesian?
Yes.
Kennewick Man is an ancient skeleton that was found in Kennewick, Washington in 1996. I tracked down the guy who literally stumbled across it. His name is Will Thomas, and he's taking me to where he found the skeleton when he was in college. It was a controversial find because local tribes believed the bones were one of their ancestors. While they fought to have them reburied, scientists fought in court for a chance to study the remains, which were dated to sometime around 7300 BC. The study of those bones is what caused the Polynesian connection to surface.
All right, you want to give me a hand or pull this boat up? All right, I'm going to show you where we found Kennewick Man.
All right.
Head over this way.
tell me about this discovery.
Well, Dave and I were trying to sneak into the boat races, have a couple of beers before we got in the races. That's really ultimately what led to finding Kennewick Man.
So you're sneaking in, then what happened?
So we were walking along the shoreline, and we were right about to enter the spot where you get into the park and the races. I looked down, and I see this rock underwater that looks enough like a head that I was gonna mess with my friend Dave. So I pick up this rock, and first thing I see is teeth. Turns out it is a human head.
Holy crap. We know ancient Polynesians traveled far. The question is, how far? Could they have made it to what's now the U.S. mainland? Decades, maybe even centuries before Columbus? There's a lot of evidence to back that up. The out-of-place spear point that suggests the Polynesians made it to Mexico and back in the distant past. Food, boats, fish hooks, and even words all suggest these intrepid voyagers traveled to South and North America around 1000 AD. But now, there could be reason to believe that the ancestors of those Polynesian voyagers may have been here far earlier than that, around 9,000 years ago, making them some of the first people ever to set foot in what's now the United States. I'm in Kennewick, Washington, talking to Will Thomas, the person who discovered Kennewick Man, an ancient skeleton which may be connected to the Polynesians. Back in '96, Will was just a college kid, trying to sneak into the local boat races when he made a find that changed American history.
I see this rock underwater that looks enough like a head that I was gonna mess with my friend Dave. So as soon as I started getting that thing up out of the water, the first thing I saw was a set of teeth on it. So my rock turned into a skull.
It was a skull.
It was a skull.
What happened then?
We made the decision to just hide the skull, meet our friends at the beer garden. One of my friends there, he wasn't buying any of the story.
Calling your bluff.
So he says, I don't believe you. Let's go see this skull. So I said, all right, let's go. So we jumped on his motorcycle, headed to the site, found the skull, put the skull under my arm, and we drove back to the truck, and I showed the rest of my buddies it.
This is every archaeologist's worst nightmare.
I can't argue with you.
So you've taken the skull to the police, they bring the boat over here, they pull up to shore, then what happened?
They started picking up bones immediately. Dave and I go over and check out, see what they're looking at, and my friend Dave pipes up and says, oh yeah, that's a stick. We had already found that earlier. And they all just kind of stopped and looked at us, and they said, no, this is the femur off of a human being.
It was a femur.
Yes.
Thigh bone.
Yeah.
So when the police were at the site, they're looking at these bones, did they know they were old at the time, or were they thinking it was a recent death?
They could tell it was old immediately. They got the radiocarbon dating back on that. Those bones are over 9,000 years old. There's a local archaeologist by the name of Jim Chatters, and he got involved with Kennewick Man the very night that we found him.
Well, I would like to look at the skeleton as well. Do you think I could maybe meet with him?
Yeah, well, he might be able to help you out. You might have a tough time getting to the bones, however. Those are under lock and key right now at the Burke Museum in Seattle.
Kennewick Man, the skeleton some people think is connected to ancient Polynesians, is inside the Burke Museum, but I can't see him. Nobody can. The Army Corps of Engineers says Kennewick Man's skeleton is too fragile for anyone to touch. In fact, a team of scientists had to sue for the right to study him. I'm on my way to meet one of them, the guy Will Thomas told me about.
Well, welcome to the lab.
So what do we know about Kennewick Man? What did you learn?
He had more injuries than I've ever seen on anybody except one fellow who'd been in a helicopter crash in Vietnam, head-on collision with a truck on his motorcycle, and then beaten to death by his neighbor. That's the worst one I've ever seen. But Kennewick Man was second to that.
So Kennewick man must have led a violent life.
You can see here there's a stone spear point
Yeah.
that was healed inside the pelvis.
This guy's just dealing with pain every day.
He got struck in the chest, probably right in the center of the chest.
I
There's
see,
a couple
okay.
breaks here that were healed.
Could he have
Struck.
been rammed by an animal or something?
He could have been rammed by an animal. He could have fallen off a cliff. Any number of possibilities.
This really underscores how much information you can learn about a person's life just by looking at their skeleton. It's amazing. Jim, I would really like to be able to see this skeleton, especially the skull.
No, Corps of Engineers won't allow anyone to see it.
How about a CAT scan of the skull? Has that taken place?
Yeah, in 2005 when we had the authorized studies.
You know, I think I have an idea. Since I can't get my hands on the real Kennewick man to look for a Polynesian connection, I'm going to do the next best thing. Using data from a CAT scan, I'm going to make a 3D print of Kennewick man's skull at the University of Washington to compare with the cast of a Native American skull. When compared to Native Americans, Polynesians had longer skulls, more elongated facial features, and wider cheekbones. Hey, Dwayne. How you doing?
I'm good, Scott. Good to see you.
Yeah. It's my friend Jim.
Hi, Dwayne. How are you?
Tell us how it works.
We're going to take the CT scan data, convert it into an appropriate file format, and then we're going to print it slice by slice on a powder printer.
Well, it's like printing multiple pages, only stacking them on top of each other and gluing them together.
It's exactly that, yes. Each layer is about 4/1000ths of an inch, so you can think of it roughly like a sheet of paper.
What are some of the applications that 3D printing is typically used for, and what can you use it for?
It's starting to become used in biomedical applications, you know, in extreme cases. Say somebody loses an ear in a fire, they can scan the other ear, mirror it, print a replacement part for a prosthetic. And there's also just fun things you can do with 3D printing. We did a project in class last year where everybody got 3D scanned, and we produced little mini-me figures.
Is that you?
That's me.
That's incredible. How long is this going to take?
Printing a full-size skull should take about a 12-hour print time, and then we'll let it sit overnight. It'll be ready to depowder in the morning.
I'm ready to get started.
Let the 3D printing begin. I think we're all set up. We've got it oriented in the build space.
How did it go?
Well, the computer thinks that it completed the build, but you never really know until you pull it out.
So the real test is, let's see what we got.
Exactly. You can just start sweeping. So you just want to go gently through there until we find something that's bound together.
Something's appearing right here.
That's what we're looking for.
There, you guys,
There it
got his
is.
teeth, now his nose.
Right, look at. Oh, this is awesome. There's the skull, there's the eyes. Jim, did this look familiar?
Oh yeah, He looked familiar from the beginning of the nose. Everything we need for comparison is pretty much there. Yeah, I brought that cast of a Native American with me. I can get that.
All right. Point out the differences here. What makes these two different from each other? I mean, I can see some subtle things, but help me out.
This one, Kennewick man, is much longer and narrow than the Native American one. He also has this projecting mid-face. This face projects forward, whereas this one is more or less straight up and down. The cheekbones aren't nearly as wide. See that there?
Okay, yeah.
And the face is much longer here than it is in Kennewick man. See from
Okay.
the nose here.
Longer face. Now, the big question for me is, do we have Polynesian features here, and is there a connection with ancient Polynesian?
Well, there are 63 measurements we do on the skull. The statistical analysis makes Kennewick man closest to Polynesians of all the peoples of the world.
To the layman, The differences between the skulls are subtle, but the Kennewick man's skull and the Native American skull are different. When you compare them, Kennewick man's face is longer, it juts out forward, and the cheeks are wider. But when you compare Kennewick man's skull to a Polynesian skull, the results are scientifically striking in their similarity. From the high-tech 3D printer to the low-tech canoe, the evidence is overwhelming. I believe Polynesians traveled to the New World, and they did it a lot earlier than we thought. I have learned so much on this investigation with your help and many other people. I'm convinced that ancient Polynesians not only made it to South America, but North America as well. The great oceans of the world were far from barriers. They were actually superhighways. There's no doubt in my mind that there were many cultures coming across the oceans to North America, not only hundreds of years, but thousands of years before Christopher Columbus ever set sail. My investigation into whether Polynesians made it to America before Columbus has taken me from Hawaii to California and to Washington State in search of evidence. I think I found it. I've discovered that the Polynesians may have shared things like sweet potatoes, language, canoe building technology, and other innovations with people along the North American and South American coasts. Over and over again, I'm struck by how the things we find today, bones, stones, and strange symbols, connect us with people from the past. There's no denying that people in the Americas have long been, and continue to be, influenced by people across the Pacific and the Atlantic. We've discovered so much about the bonds that connect us, but I know there's still a lot left to learn. The history that we were all taught growing up is wrong. My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history that nobody knows about. There are pyramids, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over the world. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told. As a forensic geologist, I rely on the study of rocks to learn more about our own history. And throughout my career, there have been several artifacts that I constantly return to. One of them is called the Bat Creek Stone. Though small in size, it's considered one of archaeology's biggest mysteries. I first learned about it during an unrelated investigation back in 2008. I was examining some cave inscriptions with a woman named Leslie Kalin when she told me about the stone and how it's inscribed with strange writing. I was immediately intrigued and had to know more. The Bat Creek Stone was discovered back in 1889 in a Native American burial mound in Loudoun County, Tennessee, along with jewelry and 9 human skeletons. The writing on the stone was first thought to be a form of Cherokee script. Later, it was determined to be an ancient form of Hebrew. Why would a stone with Hebrew writing be buried in a Native American mound? After years of research, a possible connection began to emerge. Could the stone be an ancient Hebrew land claim, possibly from the lost tribes of Israel? The lost tribes of Israel are 10 tribes that disappeared from the Holy Land in 722 BC after the Assyrians waged a bloody battle against them. To this day, no one knows if they died, escaped, or assimilated into the population. Some believe they traveled to America to build a new Jerusalem. The Smithsonian officially owns the Bat Creek Stone, but it's housed at the McClung Museum in Knoxville, Tennessee. Leslie's father, a Cherokee elder, helped me get permission to study the stone, which I examined in 2010. Now, I'm returning to Tennessee to examine it using state-of-the-art technology. I hope looking at it with a 3D microscope will help determine if the stone is an ancient relic of the lost tribes of Israel or something else. Before my re-examination, I'm meeting with Leslie Kalin again to see what she knows about this mysterious artifact and any connections between the lost tribes of Israel and the Native American site where the stone was found. So aside from the inscription, is there any evidence of an early Hebrew connection with people or places in Tennessee?
I think that some of my people believe that we might be descendants from the lost tribe. My grandfather told me that he felt that we had a Jewish connection, maybe even possibly be part of the lost tribe of Israel. There is a group called the Central Band of Cherokees. They believe that they are direct descendants of the lost tribe of Israel.
On my way to the McClung Museum, I can't stop thinking about what Leslie said. As a scientist, I focus on facts, but in this case, I can't ignore the oral tradition. If some Cherokee people believe they're connected to the lost tribes of Israel, maybe there's something to it.
Here it is. Just got it fresh off the exhibit for you.
I'm really excited to look at the Bat Creek Stone. With the new technology, this Keon's 3D microscope, that's going to hopefully help answer the question, is it authentic or not?
And that's part of why you're studying it. There is some controversy about the stone.
Can you give me just a brief synopsis as you understand the history of the Bat Creek Stone?
Yeah, I mean, it has a very interesting history. It was part of the Smithsonian's Bureau of Ethnology's mound survey that Cyrus Thomas was leading to try to understand what they call at the time the mystery of the mound builders, of who actually built these things. And one of those excavations was done in Loudoun County, Tennessee, at the intersection of Bat Creek with the Little Tennessee River. And they excavated a couple of mounds there, and one of them was a burial mound where they actually found the Bat Creek Stone.
A scientist named Cyrus Thomas was in charge of the mound survey. Initially, he thought the mounds were the work of some advanced race which no longer existed. Eventually, he went on record with his belief that the Cherokee people were somehow connected to the prehistoric mound builders. Some critics believe John Emmert, the field archaeologist working on the project who found the Bat Creek Stone, may have planted the artifact to get in good with his boss.
He was actually at one point fired from the Smithsonian and was rehired, and this was one of his first projects after being rehired. Did that actually influence him and what he did or didn't do? And that we'll never know. Beyond Bat Creek Stone, there are other stone tablets and other things that clearly were hoaxes. You have found fakes. There are things out there.
I have found fakes, but I have also found things like the Kensington runestone is absolutely genuine. The Bat Creek stone is one of the classic examples of bad science run amok. Everybody's got an opinion, and you know what they're worth in many cases. The rocks don't have bad days. They don't care. They just are. So we go back to the science. And I always say, I let the rocks talk. The Bat Creek stone was found in a Native American burial mound in the 1880s. Some people think it's a hoax. They suspect the guy who found the stone faked its inscription to get in good with his boss at the Smithsonian. I'm not buying that. I think the stone may prove Jewish people made it to America before Columbus. This artifact could even be connected to the lost tribes of Israel. They're famous for vanishing without a trace in 722 BC. Some Cherokee people in Tennessee think they have a connection to the lost tribes. I've studied the Bat Creek stone once, but now I'm back in Tennessee to examine it with the latest technology. If I can figure out how old the carvings are on the stone using 3D analysis, it would go a long way towards solving the lost tribes mystery. I want to show you something here that I think is pretty important. This is the very first picture taken of the Bat Creek stone, 1894. If you look in this area right here, there are no scratches. Right. But in this 1971 photograph, you can see there are 2 scratches.
Clearly.
Clearly they were added after the stone was found. Right. Do you have any thoughts on why that might have happened or how that may have happened?
Well, I mean, there's 2 things that could happen. Could have been accidentally scratched in some form or fashion, or it could be somebody trying to do some sort of early testing before 3D imaging to see what it's made of and how easy it is to scratch and things like that. We will do some test scratches like that sometimes.
What's important about this is these serve as excellent control samples for me to compare with the original inscription to see if they're the same.
Hopefully this machine can tell us some more today.
We start by examining the modern scratch. I'm not sure if this mark was made accidentally or on purpose. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that this scratch may be able to help prove the authenticity of the Bat Creek stone. When they scratch the stone, it will generate secondary material that's left behind. And we see that here in the freshly scratched surface. Whenever you scratch a stone, you leave stuff behind. Deposits from making the mark. The fact that we see residue in this microscopic view speaks to the fact that this is a recent carving. Because we're looking at a recent scratch, it would make sense some of that material is still there. No polish marks.
Clearly rough. I mean, it's something that was intentional, but not to be beautiful.
Yes. So let's take a look at the original inscription. If it was fresh like the scratch, we would see secondary material in there, and we don't see that. Well, as you can see here, we don't have any of those deposits that we saw on the fresh scratch. They're completely gone. It's clean as a whistle. It's completely weathered away. The weathering is key because to get that weathering profile took time. We've got nice rounded edges, and the polished surface looks nothing like the fresh scratch.
Right.
In Emmert's notes, the first time he mentions the stone, he said it was a polished stone. You can see the scratches going into the grooves after it was carved. So clearly that indicates the inscription was carved first, then it was polished. The inscription on the Bat Creek stone was clearly polished, unlike those new scratches, which weren't polished at all. By polishing it, that tells you that they're treating this with care, that it has meaning to them. And maybe even sacred. If Emmert faked the inscription, it would look newer, more like the modern scratches, but the inscription looks really old.
So here's the question for you. Can that be faked?
You can make a charge that somebody did something anytime you want, but making it stick is the key thing. We've talked a lot about the inscription, but we haven't really talked about what it says. One of the top Semitic scholars in the world at that time has translated the inscription as "for the Judeans." The Judeans were a Jewish people who occupied a mountainous region called Judea, which today is Israel's West Bank and the northern Negev Desert. The region was named after the biblical tribe of Judah, one of the lost tribes of Israel. If the Bat Creek stone really does bear the inscription "for the Judeans," it could be a significant clue that suggests the lost tribes came to America.
There's been some other interpretation as well, nothing too drastically different. How old do you think that is? How much older do you think that is than those modern scratches?
The type of work that I do is what I call relative age dating. It's older than this, it's younger than that. We know this is this old, we know this is this old, it's in between, so it has to fall somewhere in the middle. By looking at the weathering of the original inscription, comparing it with the modern scratches, to me, that says it wasn't made during modern times. Emmert said he pulled it from the mound. I've seen no evidence to question that. The other thing I think that's very important is this double-barred cross of Lorraine, which was used by early Jewish groups and is a symbol of the crucifixion. That would not be consistent with the lost tribes of Israel if it represented the crucifixion. I mean, we're talking about a group that disappeared around 700 BC, and the crucifixion obviously is 800 years later in this particular case.
Yeah, obviously, wrong time.
After taking a closer look at the Cross of Lorraine, I still don't have enough information to definitively connect the lost tribes of Israel with the Bat Creek stone. Still, this is a mysterious artifact with Hebrew on it. I've looked at others too. They make me wonder, who created them, when, and why? I'm very comfortable that the Bat Creek stone, all evidence here, to me, indicates that it looks to be a genuine artifact. But there are other artifacts that have been found in North America, pre-Columbian artifacts with Hebrew inscriptions on them. I've investigated Ohio's Decalogue stone. It has a shortened version of the Ten Commandments on it, written in Paleo-Hebrew. Same story in Los Lunas, New Mexico, where there's a similar artifact, also called the Decalogue stone, with the Ten Commandments on it. And in Arizona, more Hebrew, on the Tucson lead artifacts, a collection of authentic ritual objects pulled from the desert in 1924. I have to wonder if all these things are markers on a trail left by Hebrew people long ago. There's a person that I'm going to go visit and talk to a little bit more about the Bat Creek stone and about some other artifacts.
Part of the science of all this is actually having a dialogue and talking to different scholars, different perspectives and expertise.
We've had a good exchange today. But now I want to ask you, Tim, are you convinced by what you've seen here today that the Bat Creek stone is a genuine pre-Columbian Hebrew artifact? Well, Tim, you are the curator here at the McClung Museum that houses the Bat Creek stone artifact. We've just spent a good part of the day looking at brand new data. So based on everything you've seen, do you think that the Bat Creek stone is a genuine pre-Columbian Hebrew artifact?
I'm not completely convinced yet, but you did show me some things today I didn't expect. There's some potential other things that need to be done before I can say, yes, you have an authentic stone.
But your mind is open.
Oh, as a scientist, your mind's always open.
I have to say that I'm convinced this is a genuine artifact, but I'm all about collecting more data. I'm gonna go see if I can find some more evidence of some early Hebrew culture coming to North America prior to Columbus, long before Columbus, possibly the lost tribes of Israel. I'm on my way to see an artifact expert named Hugh McCullough. He studied the Back Creek stone and other artifacts found inside the burial mound. A while back, Hugh showed me another allegedly Hebrew artifact called the Decalogue Stone in Coshocton, Ohio. Today we're meeting in another part of Ohio at a national park known for its mounds. Well, Hugh, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you, Scott, and welcome to Ohio. Tell me what you found in Tennessee. I understand you looked at the Back Creek stone down there?
I had a chance to look at the artifact with my new technology, the 3D digital microscope. I was able to confirm that the weathering of the inscription is indeed old. There's no question that the Back Creek stone is not a hoax. It's a genuine artifact. And the fact that it's Paleo-Hebrew says to me that it has to be an early Jewish group that created it, possibly the Lost Tribes.
Well, I agree it's a Jewish artifact, so I think it's very exciting.
Tell me a little bit about the testing that you did back in the 1980s.
There were some wooden ear spools found with the stone.
Wooden ear spools, tell me a little bit, what are those?
The Hopewell and many other cultures use these ear spools. They're just decorative ear spools that they stretch the ears. We were able to get a carbon date on those. It was somewhere between 32 and 769 AD.
So Hugh, based on the data, it doesn't look like this is the Lost Tribes, who were probably around 722 BC. This is something more in the 1st century, right?
If you look at the inscription here, here's your photo of the Back Creek stone. And the style of the letters most closely matches that of the Jewish war coins of the 65 to 70 AD. The letter style matches almost perfectly. There would have been an incentive at that time for Jewish people to emigrate, because if they stayed behind, they would have been nailed to a cross or fed to the lions or enslaved.
Around 70 AD, Jews and their Roman rulers were fighting over unfair taxation, disrespect for the Jewish faith, and accusations of theft. The rebellion, known as the Great Revolt, was eventually crushed by the Romans. 4 years later, Jerusalem was captured, and 100,000 Jews were killed or sold into slavery. The big question: did other Jews escape and find their way to America? There's another piece of evidence here, too, that jumps out at me, is this double-barred cross. That's probably one of the earliest, if not the earliest, versions of the Cross of Lorraine. The Cross of Lorraine is symbolic of the crucifixion, which would have been sometime in the middle, late 1st century, consistent with an early Jewish group in the 1st or 2nd century. All the testing that you had done, the testing of the ear spools and the script, all do overlap about what time?
Around the 1st century AD.
So you've got consistency from different points. Right. Now we have the geology work that I've done as far as the weathering indicating that it's very old, that it's not a modern hoax. Based on all of this, we have apparently a 1st or 2nd century Jewish artifact found in a Native American Indian mound, and its historical importance cannot be overstated.
I'd agree with you there, Scott, but there's one more piece of evidence I want to show you, which is even bigger in a sense.
I'm interested. Let's go. Okay. It's becoming clear to me the Back Creek stone and the ear spools found in the same burial mound don't go back far enough to be connected to the Lost Tribes of Israel. I keep wondering, who left these things, and what does it all mean?
So this is a photocopy of a map that was made by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, 1823, of some earthworks here in Ohio.
Earthworks, also known as mounds, are intentional changes in land level. These sculpted piles of rocks and soil are often ancient, mysterious, and massive.
What does this portion up here look like to you?
Well, that looks like a menorah.
Right.
Is that what that is?
Well, that's what it looks like.
The menorah, also called a Hanukkah, is the symbol of Hanukkah. The 8-day Jewish holiday celebrates the rededication of their temple after years of fighting. The Hanukkah story tells how soldiers who recaptured the temple had only enough oil for one night, but miraculously, it lasted for 8. So let me get this straight. Somebody in the distant past built this earthwork that's traditionally Native American in the shape of a menorah?
Well, if we didn't have the Bat Creek stone and the Decalogue stone, I'd be totally bewildered. A Jewish idea like this is not so strange after all, maybe.
Experts believe the Hopewell people built both the Hanukkah earthworks on the Army Corps map, as well as all the mounds surrounding us here at Hopewell Culture National Park. I mean, that looks like a lamp, an oil lamp.
Right, it looks like the oil lamp that was supposed to have burned.
What else can it be?
What else can it be?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. This is a beautiful place, but why didn't you take me here?
This map was made in 1823, but by 1848, it was pretty much plowed over and not visible from the ground anymore.
So it's been basically destroyed.
Right. So it was a huge structure. This is only 13 acres here, and this is 100 acres.
Wow, almost 10 times bigger.
We know that Thomas Jefferson was actually very interested in this particular earthwork. It goes back to 1803, even when he was president. He asked a general to draw these very same earthworks.
The reason for Jefferson's interest? The Louisiana Purchase. The U.S. bought Louisiana from the French. They had taken it from the Spanish. Jefferson wanted to prove others were here in America earlier, so Spain couldn't say Louisiana or any other land belonged to them. I recently investigated the notion that Lewis and Clark were assigned to look for evidence of Welsh contact. I looked at the Brandenburg Stone as one possibility that that may have been carved by the Welsh.
He was also interested in the possibility of the lost tribes of Israel, so he even asked Lewis and Clark to look for them. So he was covering all the bases. Roman or Greek or Phoenician, he would have been just as happy to prove that it wasn't the Spanish. I think there was a diplomatic interest there.
I'll bet you in his back pocket he had this right here. You know, an earthwork like this, I mean, to me, this just screams an early Jewish culture, but there's something more that's significant here. This is a massive mound. This isn't something done by one or two or a few people. This involved a lot of people, right?
This earthworks would have required a whole community years to build. The whole community was dedicated to building this particular symbol, and therefore it's a much deeper involvement with the indigenous culture than the other artifacts.
I would agree with you. I think collectively, though, they're all important. It seems clear to me that these artifacts don't have anything to do with the lost tribes. Others may be, but not these. So it begs the question, if the lost tribes didn't create these artifacts, who did? By studying the Bat Creek Stone, a mysterious artifact found in a Tennessee burial mound more than 100 years ago, I confirmed that its inscription is much older than its discovery date. It's carved with a message for the Judeans. Judea is a region in Israel, and the writing style is consistent with Jews after the turn of the 1st century. Could a group of them have been here in America at that time? That would rule out my initial theory, the lost tribes of Israel, who went missing from history much earlier. But I think there's a chance the lost tribes' descendants might be responsible. I'm going to meet a local rabbi. If I can learn more about the history of Jewish people coming to America, it could help me solve the mystery of the Bat Creek Stone and the menorah-shaped mounds I just learned about. Rabbi, how you doing? I'm investigating ancient Hebrew here in the United States, and I want to try to figure out who's responsible. But I want to know a little bit more about early Jews coming to America. What do you know about that?
So what we do know is that Columbus came in 1492, and with him, he brought Jews. And the first question that begs is, well, why on earth would he do that? And he believed at the time that there were potentially in the New World these lost tribes. You would want people who he thought could communicate with them.
Well, that's interesting that Jews traveled with Columbus. Aren't there some rumors that people thought that maybe he was Jewish himself?
There's a big controversy, and I'll leave this to historians to resolve that, but even if he wasn't Jewish, he certainly had Jewish companions, understood the Jewish community, and was keen on discovering the lost tribes.
There was a lot of persecution going on, wasn't there?
Up until 1492, we talk about historically as the golden age of Spain for the Jews, and things had been going there pretty well. Jews were relatively left alone to thrive in business and religious tradition and what have you, and then we get this edict in 1492, and people were left with just a horrible choice: either die by the sword or convert.
Though 1492 is best known as the year Columbus sailed the ocean blue, it was also an infamous year for the persecution of Jewish people. There was the burning at the stake of 24 Jews in Germany and the expulsion of 100,000 in Sicily. The worst persecution? The Edict of Expulsion in Spain, which gave Jews 4 months to leave Spain, convert to Catholicism, or face death.
The rabbis, some said better to survive, even if you have to convert to Catholicism, your life is more important. And others said, no, it's better to be a martyr and to die than to ever worship in ways that are inauthentic and you don't believe. Tens of thousands of them died. But we also know that thousands of them converted to Catholicism and still maintained their religious Jewish traditions at home. We call those people who were forced to convert conversos.
So they were secretly Jewish, but they were outwardly Catholic.
These conversos, or what are sometimes also called crypto-Jews, were practicing Catholicism, but practicing their Judaism in the closet. Everything from lighting candles in private on Friday nights to refraining from eating pork and following the kosher laws. So these conversos really tried to maintain some sense of their Jewish identity, and they carried that to the New World with them. We know that many of the conversos, the crypto-Jews, made their way to the northern frontier of Mexico in what is now New Mexico and the American Southwest.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, this is something that many people have done, many religions have done, is come to the Americas to practice freedom of religion.
Even today, there continue to be many Latino families who are outwardly practicing Catholicism or Christianity, but who privately continue to observe some of these Jewish rituals that have been passed down to them over time.
Well, in this case, you're talking about modern-day people that are practicing rituals that date back possibly as far as the 15th century. I've been looking at artifacts that go back much further. One example is the Bat Creek stone, and the language is early Semitic script that some scholars say dates back to the 1st century. So I'm really interested in trying to get to the bottom of this and find anything I can that might be related. Is there anything that you know of that could possibly be related to what could be ancient Jewish writing?
I can't claim to the veracity of this, but there is a woman in New Mexico who claimed to have found this on her father's property, and there are some historians who believe that this evidence is early, potentially Semitic or Hebrew writing. Perhaps there's something there.
What the rabbi is showing me isn't the only carving with the Hebrew connection in New Mexico. There's another one called the Las Lunas Decalogue stone, and the 10 Commandments are carved on it in Paleo-Hebrew. Maybe there's a connection between that boulder and the petroglyph pictures which the rabbi is showing me. The thing that's really jumping out is it looks weathered. If this is down in New Mexico and there's any possibility that this could be Old Hebrew or Old Jewish writing, I'm gonna have to check this out. In my investigation, there's one thing I know for certain. Much of what we think we know about our history is wrong. We know Jewish people came to America with Columbus, and the Bat Creek stone proves they came here in the 1st century too. But there may be others, perhaps the lost tribes, who came here even earlier, and the people I'm about to meet may have found proof. Are you Stacy?
I am. This is my friend Ron.
Hi, Scott. Ron.
My pleasure.
I'm investigating the likelihood that there were ancient Hebrew tribes, people that came here from across the Atlantic, going back at least hundreds of years, perhaps thousands. I recently talked to a rabbi friend of mine back in Minneapolis who said there were Hebrew carvings down here. Tell me about them.
We have found several on my dad's land up here, and Ron found many of these all around New Mexico. All of these drawings that we're anxious for you to look at.
Well, I've got these pictures from a friend of mine, Jimmy's ranch.
So what are these?
They're ligatures that's written in a script form that makes it easier for people that know the language and people that don't to understand in a picture.
I mean, the earliest communication that humans had was through pictures. Maybe that's what we have going on here. These look fascinating. Maybe we should go take a look at them. What do you say?
Yeah.
Let's go. You have a four-wheel drive. It's pretty rough and remote out there.
I got it covered. Let's go.
All right.
Okay.
I'm in New Mexico looking for ligatures. They're symbols that take on new meaning when they're combined. They could be evidence that Jews came to America long before Columbus. Maybe they were clues left by members of the legendary lost tribes of Israel, Jewish tribes that went missing in 722 BC. I'm heading to the discovery site to see for myself. So Ron, you have to tell me, how did you find these things?
I was building these roads through here and got out of the bulldozer and ran across, just saw this over here on the side of the rocks.
This is not the first time I've seen evidence here in North America of early Hebrews coming here. I mean, I've looked at the Decalogue stone, the Bat Creek stone, the Tucson lead artifacts, and the Hanaki earthworks absolutely suggest that there were early Jews here in America long before Columbus, and we certainly weren't taught that in school, were we?
No, no. Here we are.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
Well, Ron, not only is it rugged out here, but it's remote. I mean, why would somebody come out here to carve a hoax or graffiti? I mean, nobody would see it. This whole panel is full of carvings, and up there too. It would be easy to assume these are Native American petroglyphs, but I don't think they are. I've never seen anything quite like this before. You see this dark surface on this rock? This developed over at least hundreds of years, probably thousands of years. You can actually see where some of the edges have spalled. You see how it's almost white, sort of a tan color? Well, that's what these would have looked like when they were first made. But they're dark. They're almost black, like the background rock that they're carved into. This is definitely not modern. This is my handheld portable microscope. And you can see how dark that is. You know, another thing that jumps out at me right away that I'm sure you guys have noticed, that they didn't take a hammer and chisel. This was carved with rocks, and they used a pecking technique. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. It's like it's pitted.
I saw something on the way in that could help us put a date on these carvings. It's the sort of thing many people frown upon, but as a geologist, I can find some value in it. It's graffiti. Let's go take a look at this other site. That's what I wanted to show you. You can see that this is fresh looking. It's carved into the same dark surface. This one's dated 1892. It looks like it was carved yesterday. Some other carvings here, 1925, 1924, 1919, and they all look fresh. I mean, this is just a quick and dirty comparison, but you can see this looks a lot different than what we have back there. It's pretty dramatic, isn't it? It's definitely older than 120 years, easily hundreds of years old, who knows how far back. So at this point, it becomes important to talk to the experts in this script. And my question is, do we know what this script is?
Right. Well, we did reach out to a few experts, and they dated it to the 15th century BC.
15th century BC.
BC.
That's 3,500 years ago.
It's a script that
Okay.
predates the Hebrew alphabet.
Okay, what's it called?
It's called Old Negev.
Old Negev is an ancient script. Experts believe it was developed by ancestors of the biblical Abraham, who worked in the Egyptian mines in west central Sinai. The laborers needed a way to express their language in writing. Some consider Old Negev to be a precursor to Phoenician, Paleo-Hebrew, and early Arabic scripts. The name Negev came up when I examined the Back Creek Stone in Tennessee. Its inscription reads, "For the Judeans." The Judeans lived in what's now the northern Negev desert.
The people we reached out to gave us some rough translations of this.
So it's read right to left?
It's, yeah, from,
like Hebrew,
from right to left. So we're talking in this area here, woe and sorrow on this inscription in here.
Okay.
And then we move over here to this, and this would be to cover or veil. This one right down here would be sunburnt or black. And it's talking about brothers and relatives, fellow man and friend to cry out or call for help.
Talking about woe and sorrow and sunburned. There is a rock shelter here. It would provide protection from the sun.
Right.
So maybe this is where they took refuge during a long journey and took the time to carve this. And we're talking Old Negev script. That's 3,500 years ago. The weathering of this inscription could certainly be that old. My gosh, that's 700 years before the Lost Tribes. Well, we don't know if this is that old, but if it is that old, I mean, that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah.
That is so interesting that you say the Lost Tribes, because there is one figure on here that a friend of mine who lived in Israel for several years said is associated with the tribe of Judah.
This isn't the first time in this investigation that the name Judah has come up. The Bat Creek Stone inscription reads, "For the Judeans," in Paleo-Hebrew. Judea is a region named after the tribe of Judah. The tribe of Judah, that's Jesus' tribe.
Right.
And if this is indeed 3,500 years old, that would be 1,500 years before Jesus. So this would have been his distant ancestors that could have used this script. But the other possibility is that this could have been a group that came later. We don't know. Sometimes people will use outdated languages far into the future. I mean, the Catholics still use Latin during Mass, and in our culture today, Latin is essentially a dead language.
Yeah.
So the Lost Tribes being responsible for this, I guess, is still on the table. Whoever this group is traveled far and wide, it sounds like. There's going to be archaeologists that are going to watch this, and they're going to scoff, when what they should be doing is respecting the work that we're trying to do here. The argument that the oceans were these vast, impenetrable barriers, to me, is ridiculous. Here, yet another group probably did come over here in the distant past. The Bat Creek Stone is physically small compared to a lot of things I investigate, but there's a big mystery attached to it. After studying the Bat Creek Stone with my 3D microscope and meeting with someone else who studied it, I'm convinced it's not a hoax. I think it was left in America by a first-century Jewish group. but I can't say for sure who they were or why they left it. I no longer think the lost tribes were involved. The timing's just not right. But the Back Creek Stone does connect early Jews with pre-Columbian America. Decalogue stones with the 10 Commandments, earthworks shaped like a menorah, and strange petroglyphs in the southwest also point to unexpected Jewish visitors to the New World. Whatever happened to the lost tribes of Israel when they disappeared in 722 BC is still a mystery, but it's one I hope to solve someday.
So my main interest at the time was exploring the cave. I wanted to know what it was, how far it went. There are bronze weapons in there, swords, spears, shields, knives, many artifacts, something like 7,000. No two are exactly the same. It proves that many of the things that have been taught in elementary school, high school, and colleges was wrong. They were treasure hunters searching for that cave. So I decided to completely hide its location. Search all you want, you will never find it.
The history that we were all taught growing up is wrong. My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history that nobody knows about. There are pyramids, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over the world. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told. Our country is filled with caves, caverns, and burial chambers that could hide artifacts and sacred wonders from long ago. I've looked for the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, and other things rumored to be hidden here. I think these things are just waiting to be found by those who search hard enough. Without a doubt, some of the greatest lost treasures of all time are those from ancient Egypt, where vast burial chambers lie virtually empty, the pharaoh's riches having vanished. Many people believe these old world artifacts were brought to the New World, and I think they could be right. A few years ago, I examined some alleged Egyptian artifacts said to have been found in a cave in rural Illinois. But Illinois isn't the only place said to hide such treasures. That's why I'm heading to another place where many think ancient Egyptians once came with their vast riches, the Grand Canyon. Stretching 277 miles, the Grand Canyon is about 18 miles wide and up to 6,000 feet deep. It was carved out by the Colorado River about 500 million years ago, and the layering of the rock reveals a huge amount of our nation's geological history. And there are caves here, but only a few of them have been explored. So if ancient Egyptians brought their treasure here, it's likely still hidden. And I'm meeting a guy who says he knows where it is. Well, Jerry, thanks for meeting me here today in this amazing place.
It is. It's very amazing.
You know, there are many myths and stories about ancient cultures coming to America with fantastic treasures. Some people say that there's a treasure buried here somewhere in the Grand Canyon. And I have a newspaper article from the Phoenix Gazette in 1909 that talks about a treasure here. Let's take a look at this. Explorations in Grand Canyon, mysteries of immense, rich cavern being brought to light. Remarkable finds indicate ancient people migrated from the Orient. And that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And you know, the person who did this exploration was G.E. Kincaid. He'd been hired by the Smithsonian, and he went pretty much looking for this cave full of treasure and this lost city that's down there.
Did he find it, and what happened after that?
Kincaid knew what he was looking for. He pretty much went to the spot, found a series of steps that went up the cliff wall, went into the cave. He found not only hieroglyphs, but he found all kinds of artifacts.
Like what?
Well, statuary. There were mummies in there. There were indeed pieces of gold and silver.
Now, one of the things they mention here is that this particular cave is virtually inaccessible. Although it does talk about 1,400, 1,500 steps, sandstone steps that were carved into the rock that would allow them to get there. The other thing that's amazing to me is, according to the article, this cave is so massive that 50,000 people could have lived there. So potentially there could have been thousands, if not millions, of artifacts inside this cave. And the fact that we look around here and we see this geology, we know we've got sandstone, limestone. It's going to lend itself to caves, and I know that there's a lot of caves here, so, you know, that fits. But today, the Smithsonian's official position is that this whole story is a hoax. Is that correct?
We'd contacted the Smithsonian. They deny that there's a cave, that there's any evidence, that there was anything here.
So are you suggesting that the Smithsonian is covering up something here in the Grand Canyon?
Oh, they absolutely are.
Because I know that you've done a lot of work out here. You've made some expeditions here. What did you find?
Well, we came here trying to find the truth. Kathy, my wife, did the research over a number of years and finally pinpointed a spot that we believe is exactly where this would need to be if it truly existed.
So where is that location?
You know, this is a really difficult place to get to, Scott. It isn't easy at all. But yeah, I can show you where we believe the cave is at.
So you're up for it?
I'd be happy to show you what we know.
Well, Jerry, what makes you so sure that you know where this site is?
Well, once we got to the site that Kathy had identified, we started looking very closely at anything that might have been left behind by the Smithsonian explorers and excavation team that had been there ahead of us. We found buttons, pieces of glassware, a name badge, several small pieces that were 80 to 100 years old.
So do you think this corresponds with the expedition back in 1909?
Yeah, I do. Now, this place is very dangerous.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's dangerous because while we were there on several occasions, there were government stealth helicopters.
Stealth helicopters? Seriously?
They know it's there, Scott, and we know that they know what's there.
So, do you think they were trying to scare you off?
I know they were trying to scare us off.
Let me tell you this. If there's an ancient site somewhere down in the Grand Canyon, possibly Egyptian, they're not going to scare me off. Ancient Egypt is famous for its vast riches and immense wealth. When King Tut's tomb was discovered in 1922, his coffin alone was made from solid gold and was worth over $13 million. Much of the treasure attributed to Egyptian pharaohs has yet to be found. So what I want to know is, could it be here in America? If it was hidden away on U.S. soil, some people think it's in the Grand Canyon. An old news article suggests Egyptian treasure was found here, and another treasure might be here too, the Ark of the Covenant. My search for the religious relic turned up clues nearby in Arizona's Petrified Forest National Park. If any treasure is here in the canyon, it's in an incredibly dangerous and inaccessible spot, possibly even guarded by the government. But the reward is too great, and I have to find out what's hidden here.
There were things that were going on that just didn't make any sense for such a remote location.
I want to find this thing wherever it is, and I need your help.
This area where the cave is located is considered sacred ground by the Hopi, Navajo, Zuni, and other tribes of this area.
Do you think that maybe they might have some information that could be helpful to us?
Well, I know someone who might have some answers to fill in the blanks.
The Zuni tribe are Pueblo people who have made the Southwest their home for hundreds of years. To the Zuni, the Grand Canyon is a holy place, their creation story telling how the ancestors climbed up from its basin. Even today, Zuni men still make pilgrimages to the Grand Canyon to venerate this sacred site. Clifford, as a Zuni tribal elder, what can you tell me about the Grand Canyon, what it means to your people?
Well, the Grand Canyon, to the Zuni people and other Pueblo tribes, this is considered our place of origin, not only in terms of religion, but also spirituality, about where our forefathers and our ancient ones came out of.
Is there anything in your creation stories that talks about some of these mysterious caves, maybe even the one that could possibly hold Egyptian artifacts?
In our spiritual teachings, there are actually rooms inside the Grand Canyon, and there's several passageways.
Right.
So that parallels with some of the history about the early 1900s, and also about some of the treasures that a lot of Indian tribes talks about.
Are there any stories about what might be in some of these caves?
I've heard a lot of different stories from different tribes that talk about these treasures that are supposedly in there. But then also I heard about a pyramid that's supposedly inside the Grand Canyon.
A pyramid?
A pyramid.
So Clifford, your oral stories say that there were cities inside of these caves and pyramids in the Grand Canyon.
I absolutely believe in that because there's been a lot of different crossing of different cultures in this part of the world. It's my understanding that there was a lot of Egyptian type relics and artifacts that were taken from inside the Grand Canyon.
Are there any stories about any of these caves being cursed?
In most Native American sites, there are natural occurrences that might be considered cursed. It's sort of like a guardian type thing, and it's still even in existence to this day.
You have to tread very carefully.
Absolutely.
So do you think there still could be treasure down there?
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge place. And if you look at the rooms and the space inside the canyon itself, there's a lot of artifacts of past civilizations. I believe in that there's a lot of treasure still inside the canyon.
Do you think we can get there?
Well, you might try getting there, but it's very dangerous.
Well, you know, I appreciate what Clifford was saying, but I'm not ready to give up yet. We have to figure out a way to get into that cave.
Well, it's a very dangerous place. Clifford was right. I have some video to show you of our 2002 expedition into the canyon. It'll show you exactly how dangerous a place this is.
Sounds good. Let's take a look.
This is our camp from our 2002 expedition when we were at the Grand Canyon trying to find a way down to the area where Kincaid's cave would be found.
It looks like it drops straight off, right?
Beyond this point is just a sheer 2,000-foot drop-off. People standing here on the edge of the canyon, past that point, it is straight down maybe 2,000 feet.
Just what I'm seeing here does look, I mean, that's a pretty steep slope.
It's absolutely dangerous, absolutely dangerous. And here you see, now they've gone over the edge, they're hanging off the ropes, they've gone down maybe 800 feet. And this one fellow's just hanging off the rope. They're suffering heat exhaustion. There's no way you can carry enough water to get to this place.
So basically what you're saying is to get to this cave, I mean, it's virtually impossible.
It is. All right, what you're looking at here is while our team was going down, descending into the canyon over these cliffs, you can see very clearly.
Holy crap.
There's this unmarked plane that's flying well below the canyon rim. As you see it going right through there. We've also seen helicopters, and they've buzzed us at various times we've been there. They don't have any markings either, and we feel they must be government helicopters, government airplanes. They were watching us.
Or maybe they were trying to scare you off.
Probably trying to.
So they never did get down to the cave entrance.
They never did. Yeah, it proved to be way too difficult. Heat exhaustion took over, and it was really very difficult to get them back to the surface.
Do you think that we could climb down here realistically?
No.
I mean, how long would that take? What are we talking about time-wise?
You need expert mountaineers and a lot of rope.
Well, you know what? There might be another way to get there.
All right, what do you have in mind?
49er Canyon ground, wind 1806, left turn eastbound approved, runway 21, clear for takeoff.
And Candy, Captain 49, boost ready.
Captain 49, tower proceeds course to southeast.
Captain 49, let's go for a southeast departure. Here we are over the Colorado River. I need you to tell me exactly where you need me to go.
Yeah, it's just right down there below that ridge.
So I'm going to do an orbit. I'm going to lose a little bit of altitude here.
Okay.
And do an orbit over the location.
1046, Nanquay, Black 19, climbing 95.
And Eagle 49's over the little Colorado River.
Right there. We need to descend down below that ridge line in order to see directly across into the canyon.
I can't do that. The FAA has restricted all flight below the canyon rim. Not allowed to descend down there.
So you're telling me that the FAA, the government, will not allow us to go down there?
Absolutely not. Captain 49's any Alpha Green 174.
We need to descend down below that ridge line in order to see directly across.
The FAA has restricted all flight below the canyon rim. Not allowed to descend down there.
So you're saying that the government will not allow us to fly over this area right here? This is where the Egyptian cave is supposed to be?
No, sir. We're not allowed down there.
That's the level that we think that the cave is at. It's right there.
Okay. Just beyond that next drop-off.
Exactly.
So, Jerry, we are pretty much above it, on top of it, you think?
Yeah, there's the circle of rocks from our campsite.
Is there any way that we could get down on that plateau just above it? Could you land there?
We can land on the top. I can get you on that plateau right over there.
Okay. Well, I guess that's the next best thing.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and just land right down there. 978 Eagle 49 is landing. I'll call you back up in the air.
So, Jerry, this was your base camp right here, right? This is where you started your operation to get down to what you hoped was the Egyptian cave?
This is it. When we were here before, the guys that were going over, we thought they were prepared. We really didn't know what it would take at the time. And they went down about 800 feet, and they ended up getting stuck.
800 feet? That's only about, what, halfway down to where you think the cave is?
It's about halfway, yeah. Going over the side, it just seems impossible. You can't see the cave from the bottom, nor can you see it from the top. It's at an in-between level. It's completely obscured.
That newspaper article is very compelling from 1909. Something happened here in the Grand Canyon. I think the government is hiding something. The fact that a plane flew by when you guys were down here rappelling tells me that they had to have been watching you. They're guarding something. The oral stories of the Zuni and other tribes around the Grand Canyon clearly suggest that some people came here, that there are many caves here, but there may be caves that housed ancient cultures and maybe artifacts, possibly the Egyptians. So I'm convinced that there is something here.
Well, we've only scratched the surface, and we're sure that there were ancient cultures who came through here. It could have been the Egyptians. We think it was someone from the Orient. There's some talk that even the Ark of the Covenant might have come through here.
You know, I recently was in the petrified forest, and I saw a petroglyph that looked just like the Ark of the Covenant. So maybe the Ark of the Covenant did come to North America through the petrified forest. Maybe it's down there in that cave. After taking a good look around, it's clear that further exploration is impossible. It frustrates me not to reach this cave, but it isn't the only cave in America rumored to hide Egyptian treasure. There's another cave in southern Illinois, and while I've studied artifacts allegedly taken from it, I've never seen the cave itself. I met the man who claims he found this cave, Russell Burroughs, and I even got his story on camera.
They were people searching for that cave, treasure hunters. So I decided that the best thing to do is to completely hide its location, which I did.
Now he won't talk to me at all. But maybe it's time to go look for the cave and see once and for all if Russell was telling the truth. You know, speaking of treasures, there's another cave in southern Illinois, Burroughs Cave. I'm sure you've heard of it.
We have.
I've actually spent quite a bit of time looking at the artifacts, but I've never found the cave, and that's where I'm headed next. I want to find Burroughs Cave. If I can find Burroughs Cave, it would be a huge step toward proving Egyptian treasure really did make it to America. And that's why I need to visit someone who may know just how to find it. Harry Hubbard, an artifact collector and researcher who's devoted his life to studying the Illinois Treasure Cave. Harry has some examples of the treasures that he's eager for me to see. This is amazing. It looks like the greatest hoard of treasure I've ever seen in person. But they're not gold, these are made of lead, right?
That's correct. These are replicas of original gold pieces brought out in 1985.
What happened to all the gold? Where is it? These are replicas.
Right. Well, Burroughs melted the gold and then sold it off.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. You know, I'm seeing Egyptian iconography, I'm seeing some interesting text, a sun god symbol. To see all this stuff that you have here and to think that it was actual gold treasure at one time is amazing. I mean, it's got to be one of the greatest hoards in history.
The original pieces came from here in Marion County.
Okay.
There's an ancient tomb very nearby.
Okay, the cave, right?
The cave.
All right, tell me about the cave.
The original description indicated that there were 13 crypts.
Okay.
The main crypt had a king in a solid gold sarcophagus, and there was one crypt that actually had a woman in it. And the rest were ancient kings. 13 cadavers buried in one crypt.
So you're convinced that the gold that came out was real?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Well, let's get back to Russell Burroughs.
Okay.
He's the guy that told me fantastic stories about pulling out not just gold artifacts, but artifacts carved and made out of stone. I've talked to him about these artifacts.
And did you study those artifacts?
Absolutely, I did.
What did you determine?
Well, I can tell you with absolute certainty that I think I know what's behind this notorious mystery of the Illinois cave and how it might connect with the Grand Canyon cave that I just looked at. I'm on the hunt for Egyptian treasure that legends say is buried somewhere in America. The big question is, where is it? I've checked out a prohibited area at the Grand Canyon in Arizona. And now I'm examining replicas of possible Egyptian artifacts found in another cavernous hiding place here in southern Illinois. Legend says the original gold and the other carved pieces were taken from a cave here in the 1980s. But whether this is a true story or a tall tale remains to be seen. I've spent years trying to get to the truth myself. In 2010, I managed to get the only interview of Russell Burroughs ever known to be filmed, and I examined some of the artifacts he claimed he found. The varied collection ranged from a shaman and a cartouche carved in black marble to a white marble stone with the Greek goddess Isis on it. But after I questioned their authenticity, Russell refused to speak with me again. The key to the mysterious cave in Illinois here really centers on Russell Burroughs. I mean, he's the one that made the cave famous. That's why they call it Burroughs Cave.
He is the reason that a lot of people have become skeptical of the artifacts, because a lot of them have been tainted and forged.
You know, I felt it was important to give Russell an opportunity to say something about it, so I interviewed him back in 2010.
I'd like to see what he's got to say.
Well, in 1982, I was out working with my metal detector searching for an old homestead. I was walking down the trail on the bluff, and I stepped on a rock which dropped me into a pit or a hole. And lo and behold, behind it was a cave. There are bronze weapons in there, swords, spears, shields, knives, many artifacts, many, something like 7,000. No two are exactly the same.
Well, that's quite a story, isn't it?
This one is different from the rest of them.
Oh, really?
Yes. The story changes quite frequently.
Well, one of the things that does jump out at me is his descriptions of what he sees in the cave are incredibly detailed.
Well, Burroughs describes 13 crypts. The main crypt is a man in a solid gold sarcophagus. I believe he saw those things.
Well, I have an artifact I want to show you. That's the Isis stone, an Egyptian-looking female who's kneeling in reverence to Ra, the sun god. And this is an artifact that, if you look closer, is very revealing. You look right here, you can see that there are some carved characters here.
Mm-hmm.
This is English cursive writing.
Mm-hmm.
Why would English writing be on an ancient Egyptian artifact? That's problem number one. This particular stone is exactly 2 inches thick, as are most modern white marble tombstones used between about 1850 and 1950,
Mm-hmm.
very commonly used at that time. But it gets more interesting after that. If you look at this kind of dark gray material,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually modern mortar.
Okay.
The next thing that happened here is you see these chips on the backside?
Right.
Somebody chipped the backside, apparently to try to remove the inscriptions on the back and make it look old. So there's no question in my mind that this is a fake artifact and that it was made from a modern white marble tombstone. But that doesn't mean that the cave doesn't exist. In fact, it could very well exist, and I have a couple of artifacts that I want to show you that Russell claims came from his cave. It looks like perhaps it's an Egyptian shaman. It's got the Egyptian beard. It has a very creepy look to it, and it could very well be authentic. Who knows? This is another artifact that looks very interesting to me.
Right.
This is a cartouche, an Egyptian cartouche.
Yes, it is.
And In most cases, cartouches carry the names of a pharaoh or somebody of importance.
Well, these two are authentic. There's no doubt in my mind. There's not that many people that know Egyptian glyph, and the ones that are carved in Egyptian glyph, the grammar, syntax, everything is pretty much correct.
After looking at all these artifacts here, looking at all the replicas of the gold, imagining this vast treasure underground, my question to you is, do you think the cave is real?
I know the cave is real. And we know how all this came over here. Come on, let me show you something.
Okay.
This is the man who brought all the treasures over here from Egypt.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And who is this?
His name is Alexander Helios. He is the missing son of Cleopatra and Mark Antony.
Alexander Helios was an Egyptian prince whose famous parents, Antony and Cleopatra, committed suicide when a Roman emperor conquered Egypt. Alexander Helios, as the eldest son, may have feared for his life and fled the country with the family fortune. At the time, Egypt had many sailing ships, so perhaps Helios came to what's now America to seek refuge, bringing his treasure with him. All right, so why did he come over here?
One of the stones clearly says we left the Mediterranean to escape persecution. And he's all over these artifacts, probably on about 500 of them. And it tells his life story here. After about age 10, he vanishes off of the face of history.
Okay.
But here we have him as an older man, as a younger man, in different costumes. He was a priest of the sun, and that was his name, Helios, which is Greek for the sun.
Okay. So you think he came here?
Yes.
And when was this?
Probably about 25 BC.
Well, that's very interesting. And how many people do you think came with him?
According to the tablets, probably 50,000.
50,000 people. Well, that's pretty interesting because when I was out at the cave in the Grand Canyon, they talked about it being big enough to house 50,000 people. And maybe the cave that you have here, that you think is here, maybe those people also went out to the Grand Canyon.
So what do you think of the theory that Alexander Helios came here to North America with all these treasures?
Well, it's interesting for a couple of reasons. One is Helios and the people you talked about are real historic figures. And the fact is they did disappear from the pages of history and they had to go somewhere. Why not here? So I like it from that standpoint, but I need to see more evidence before I'm convinced. I mean, these are great, but I need to find that cave. Do you know where that cave is?
Yes, we know where the cave is.
All right, show me.
Now this map came from the file cabinet of one of Russell Burroughs' associates. I've been researching this for 20 years, and there's been a few things that I was wrong about here and there, but the location of this tomb is not one of them.
Okay.
This is what we call the pinpoint map.
All right, so this is his secret map, right?
This is Russell Burroughs' secret map. And if you'll notice, there's a ravine system here. And right here, there's dots right here. And also, there's a red dot right here.
Okay.
There's a cavern in one ravine and a large room underneath the ground of the other one.
Okay.
And I'm going to put an X right there and right there.
So X marks the spot.
You got it.
How far away is this ravine system?
About 4.5 miles away.
Well, Harry, if you're right, I've got to get out there and find this cave. You know, there's always truth in legend. We have to get to the truth, and that's what I'm going to find. Some people believe that ancient Egyptians may have come to America with their treasure. And now, I'm searching for these caves that may hide these amazing artifacts. I visited the Grand Canyon, where it's believed there were caverns of vast riches from afar. And here in Illinois, I've examined replicas of the many Egyptian artifacts that are said to have come from Burroughs Cave.
When I saw them, I said to myself, where in the world are these from?
Using the secret treasure map that Harry Hubbard gave me, I've tracked down the landowner of the area on the map. And although Harry wasn't allowed on the site, I've been given access. And if there's a cave here, I'm going to find it. I'm investigating the possibility of Egyptians bringing treasure to America. I was just out in the Grand Canyon and I investigated a mysterious cave that is alleged to contain treasures. And now I'm here in southern Illinois investigating the Burroughs Cave mystery, another Egyptian treasure possibility here. What do you think about all this?
I think it's a very fantastic legend. How could people from the Middle East have made it across the Atlantic up the Mississippi and found this spot here out in the middle of nowhere?
I can appreciate your skepticism, but there is an historical figure called Alexander Helios, who about 2,000 years ago did disappear from the pages of history. And he was of Egyptian heritage. He did have ships, he did have a following, and the question is, where did he go? The other thing that is really interesting and compelling to me is that there are at least 7,000 artifacts that reportedly did come from Burroughs Cave. I've seen a couple thousand of them myself, and some of them are quite ornate and beautiful, and they had to come from somewhere. Those are two things that do intrigue me. But I want to hear more about what you have here. And this is supposed to be the area where the cave is. What do you know about it?
Well, let me show you on my aerial view here, my property here.
Okay.
We have the road to the north that we entered here, and we're parked right here at the edge of the woods and this open field. And there's supposedly two ravines where these Egyptian tombs or caverns are supposed to be located.
Okay. I do have a map here that I'd like to compare with your map. Okay. So here's your, looks like it's right here. So that would put us, these are the two ravines you're talking about right here.
Correct.
So apparently, this is where Burroughs Cave is located.
That's what most people believe, yes.
Are you willing to take me in there?
Yes, I am, Scott.
Discovering Burroughs Cave here in Illinois would be the find of the century. But the questions surrounding the veracity of the artifact's discovery are a problem for most everyone, including me. I want to know, did Russell Burroughs really find and conceal this cave, or did it ever exist at all? His own accounts suggest it's off a trail near some bluffs, just like the bluffs on Stevens Land, so I think we're in the right area. Burroughs said he slipped into a pit that led him into a long treasure cave. My examination of the geology here will be key. If there's not a cave here, then I need to analyze the rock to see if there could be one underground.
Well, Scott, this is the West Ravine.
That is a natural rock shelter. Does it go under here too?
Yes, there's a ledge underneath where we're standing.
Pretty impressive, actually. Can we get down there? I sure would like to look around here a little more.
Yeah, there's a trail over here to our right that leads down into the ravine.
The first thing I can say is the rock shelter in the ravine is not a cave, but a cave entrance discovered back in 1982 might have become hidden by a rockfall or overgrown by trees in the 30 years since Burroughs first found it. I'm not ready to give up on the idea ancient Egyptians might have come here and tunneled out deep into rock. But to find out if that's possible, I'll need to test the rock type.
So Scott, here we're at the spot that was marked as an X on your map, but I don't see any caverns or chambers or anything. I see a lot of sandstone that's been naturally eroded by water over hundreds of years here.
Well, you're right. And, you know, looking at the map, it was a very small-scale map, and that dot that was put on there, and it may be on the correct spot, it may not. You know, one of the things I'd like to get a sense of is how well compacted this sandstone is, how strong it is. Could they have tunneled through this following fractures and maybe taking advantage of natural, you know, openings in the rock? You know what I want to do is I want to see what is holding those sand grains together.
You see anything, Scott?
Yeah, I'm seeing sand grains that appear to have little or no cement. That's why this stuff is pretty soft.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this piece is just crumbling in my hands.
Right, right. There's one more test that I would like to do, though. What we have here is dilute hydrochloric acid. I want to see if there's any calcite cement, and if it's there, it'll fizz. So let's see.
This looks like they're being absorbed into the rock.
Yeah. It's soaking in quickly, which means there's little, if any, cement. It's an open space between the sand grains. This rock, in fact, does lend itself to carving caves. You know, I've been to places where I would say absolutely not, but here I would say it's possible.
So, Scott, what does it all mean?
Well, what it means to me is, could ancient cultures, conceivably from Egypt, have come here to your property and carved caves and put Egyptian treasure in them? Yes, I think they could have.
Being a realist, I'm not sure I believe that the Russell's Cave or the Mystery Tomb ever existed. And I think this thing's sort of been perpetuated by the fact that Southern Illinois has the nickname as Little Egypt. That's been around since the early 1800s. There's various things that have that word Egyptian in them. Like the local newspaper has pyramids on it, and there's pictures of the Sphinx. And then as a coincidence, the town at the confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio is named Cairo. For anybody to have come over from the Middle East, made it all the way over here across the Atlantic, and much less down in Illinois, would be just the most fantastic voyage in the history of mankind.
Well, you think it's geographically far-fetched that the Egyptians could have come here to the heartland of America, but I'm not ready to give up on that idea just yet. In fact, I firmly believe that there were many cultures that came here prior to Columbus, going back thousands of years. So it's certainly possible that the ancient Egyptians did come here to America. We just need to find more proof. There are incredible stories that ancient Egyptians somehow made their way to what is now the United States. But from all that I've seen, I think that behind these legends is an astounding truth. At the Grand Canyon, I heard from a descendant of some of Arizona's earliest inhabitants about encounters with ancient travelers from the East. It's a story echoed by the earliest European explorers, who found clues to an Egyptian voyage that I think the government may be covering up. I saw an amazing account of a Smithsonian expedition to uncover a wealth of Egyptian treasures hidden in a cave large enough for 50,000 men. Maybe the 50,000 men whom some believe were led here by the son of Antony and Cleopatra. I think the Illinois Treasure Cave and the cave in the Grand Canyon could very possibly be real. The geology proves beyond a doubt that ancient people could have carved hiding places for their vast treasures in both locations. This great land we know as America has many natural treasures, and I'm absolutely convinced that it's been drawing people here for thousands of years.